Hello there, everyone. This is Mr. D. This is one of my children mystery stories. Um, oh, and before I forget, if you haven't marked the subscribe button, please do so. But story is about a little girl in the church, not too long ago. So let's get to it, and let's start off by bringing up my presentation. There we go. This story is called The Girl Named Sally. And you can find some of the locations of this story under these locations in the Bible. Well, let's see here. It's getting peaky to start. This takes place in a little church. It might be a big church. And there were lots of people there. The church was growing and growing and growing. And it was a beautiful church inside. It says, and there were lots and lots of members. Well, all of these members had lots of children, and these children would worship and they would praise God in this beautiful church. Well, they became good friends and they ran just like all of our children we hope in the church do. And they had lots of fun. Well, lots of fun to a certain degree, I guess. For some of us people, the church is supposed to be the church, and some children they also find playing in the church good too. Well, playing in the church caused a lot of problems because children would run and they would do mischief and they were bumping into people and knocking over elderly. And the church was very, very confused in what they should do. Well, after some discussions with the elders and trying to figure out what's going on, they put together a little group. This little group's decision was determined. Should they talk to the parents? Should they let it go and let the kids grow out of it? Should we have the elders somewhere? All kinds of questions were coming about it, but no one could decide what to do about all of this traffic, this running with children. So they had a meeting. They got together. And in this meeting, there was a teacher. The teacher that said, I have an answer. No, God has an answer. I think she really said. And that I'm sure he'll give us a solution. So she went home, and the next day she came back, and she had put a sign on her door that said, "Take off your sandals." And taking off the sandals caused a lot in the church. By God speaking to her and inspiring her to follow the footsteps of the famous man called Moses. Moses was told that the ground where he was walking or talking of God was holy. And he wanted her to teach that to the children. So she put this sign out. Now, this is not exactly what the sign is. I made the sign up, but the sign was different. But there was a sign, and then she had all the kids take off their shoes. Well, this was pretty good because she ended up telling the story about Moses, and she told the story about Joshua and Jericho and angels and God and how holy the ground was and that we should be reverent in front of God. Well, the children, I think, after hearing the story of Moses and the burning bush and the holy ground, and the story also of Joshua and the city of Jericho, that they started to be different in the church. They were quite different. They were more respectful. They were more simple and behaved themselves. And one other thing, they were barefooted, totally barefooted. And they did this for quite a long time. Well, one day came and a little girl came to the teacher and asked the teacher, she wanted to know, more what this holy ground was she had been telling her. And Sally was one of those girls that I told you that was running the church and knocking over these elderly people. The teacher reminded her of what they had studied in the class about holy grounds and the stories. And these stories that the ground was holy and where we're standing is holy and where the Lord is present is holy. She told us again to the little girl, and the little girl left and came back again later. And this time she whispered in her ear and she said, Sally came back later and told her teacher that she was going to be baptized because of holy ground, Jesus. The teacher was so happy. And the church, I'm sure, was happy. And her parents were happy. And the child, she wanted to be closer to Jesus. So the day came soon, and Sally became baptized because she wanted to be closer to God. She wanted to be good, and she wanted to behave in God's house, not to run around and knock people over. She wanted holy ground under her feet. Well, the question we need to ask is, if the church is holy, and if God is holy, then if God is holy, then are we walking on that holy ground? You know, I have to say as Mr. D, that this is a very important question. Are we walking on holy ground? Are we remembering that everything that belongs to God and Jesus is holy? You know, if we choose to be with Jesus and God and don't follow him, I'm sure that the holy ground may not be the same because you're not respecting God. But if you're a follower of God and you expect Jesus to be there, I don't know, I'll be holy. Be precious with Jesus. May God be with you. And I will talk to you again on my next story. Take care.